and welcome. Abdulrasheed Bawa refutes corruption allegation as Senate confirms his nomination as new EFCC chairman. Bandits strike again in Kaduna State, killing 18 persons in 3 local government areas. I have no apology, says Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed over comments on farmer herders crisis, asked herders not to carry AK-47s. And Ghana takes first delivery of coronavirus vaccines from the United Nations COVAX initiative. Plus, we'll have business, sports, and later on international news from our London studios.
On business news tonight, Minister of Finance Zainab Ahmed says Nigeria is on track for consistent and stable growth following its recent exit from recession.
And on sports news tonight, Aqua United force 8-time league champions Ayimba International to a 1-1 draw in the star match of the match day 12 of the Nigeria Professional Football League.
And from Abuja, autopsy of lady accused of dying of cocaine overdose by defunct Special Anti-Robbery Squad comes back negative for narcotics.
The Senate today confirmed Mr. Abdulrasheed Bawa as the new chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Mr. Bawa's confirmation comes after a screening exercise during today's plenary session. Among other things, Mr. Bawa defended his competence to lead the anti-graft agency in its task of ridding Nigeria of corruption. Our correspondent Linda Akigbe reports.
Nominee Malam Bawa.
The last time the Senate screened a nominee for the position of EFCC chairman was in March 2017. That was a now-embattled EFCC chairman, Ibrahim Magu, who the Senate rejected twice because of a report by the Department of State Service. Mr. Magu occupied the position in acting capacity for an unprecedented 5 years. Fast forward to today, it appears that these senators are favorably disposed to President Buhari's latest nominee for the position of EFCC chairman.
Of course, I am so impressed and I'm in awe in this very awesome presentation by Mr. Bawa.
Regardless of the approval of a nominee, lawmakers take him up on several issues relating to transparency surrounding recovery of assets and monies from proceeds of financial crime.
Mr. Nominee, there have been issues about the EFCC recoveries in terms of fund and properties, where amount recovered is different from amount remitted.
We are going to embrace technology to enable us keep our records properly so that as at when due, Nigerians are action questioned. It's just a matter of pressing a button.
Senators also questioned him on some allegations which have since gone viral.
There is allegation in the press and particularly in the social media that the seized and forfeited assets at Port Harcourt were not properly disposed of.
That I, as zonal head of the EFCC, never for once sold a single asset in Port Harcourt. I never did. The then Secretary of the Commission, together with 3 directors and other staff from the headquarters, flew into Port Harcourt and disposed of the trucks and other assets in them that were forfeited to the federal government of Nigeria. Assuming we even did that, the EFCC could have been the first to punish me. They could have investigated me. They could have even prosecuted me. Senator Mohammed Sani Musa asks about my relationship with the former acting chairman, Mr. Ibrahim Magu. I have a very cordial relationship with him. I was never arrested. I was never detained by him. In fact, during the week of my nomination and to date, he even called me on phone to congratulate me for this appointment.
The Senate thereafter confirms him.
Will the Senate approve the nomination of Abdurrashid Bawa as the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
The last two EFCC chairmen faced corruption allegations in office, and the newly appointed EFCC chairman will be confronted with a tough task of not only strengthening the commission to more efficiently tackle corruption, but also avoiding the pitfalls that plagued his predecessors. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
We'll have more on the confirmation of Mr. Bawa later on in the bulletin. Meanwhile, the Senate approved 11.3 billion naira as the budget of the Nigeria Police Trust Fund for the 2020 fiscal year. About 1.3 billion of the amount was allocated for the procurement of tear gas, while 1 billion naira was allocated for the procurement of arms and ammunition. The approval was sequel to the consideration and adoption of the harmonized report of the Senate and House of Representatives Committee on Police Affairs. The Senate approval comes a week after President Muhammadu Buhari transmitted the budget to the Senate for consideration and approval. The implementation of the budget will lapse on April the 30th, 2021. The security now attacks by bandits in Kaduna State seem not to be abating, with not less than 18 reportedly killed in the latest incident in 3 local government areas, which have been under constant invasion in recent times. The Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arwan, says the bandits attacked a village in Igabe local government area and killed 7 people, leaving many houses, barns and storehouses in the community burnt and about 20 cows rustled. The bandits also attacked a village in Chikun local government area, killing 8 persons. Some residents of the village were also said to have been abducted and some cattle rustled. Similarly, armed bandits invaded Sanghu Makera village in Birnin Yero of Igabe local government area and killed a farmer in the village, while another person was killed by unknown assailants at the Millennium City in Chikun local government area. According to Mr. Arwan, a number of bandits on motorcycles were neutralized by troops at Kankomi village and neighboring communities as well, while many of them escaped with bullet wounds. The Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed says he has no apology for speaking up against ethnic profiling of Fulani herdsmen, but gives Nigerians the assurance that his previous comments were not intended to generate controversy or escalate tension. On the issue of AK-47, Governor Mohammed is appealing to herders to drop their weapons and promised that his government will make their well-being a priority. He was speaking during the official launch of the 2021 annual livestock vaccination campaign at Galambi Cattle Ranch in Bauchi.
That brings me to the issue of the profiling of the Fulani, which we kicked against, and we have no apology for what we have done. Because what we have done is to say the truth, that there is no tribe or group that is free from criminality. And we are not saying that to spite anybody or to spark unnecessary controversy. We have made the point. Nigerians across the board have discussed it, and I'm happy to say that from all indication, majority of sensible Nigerians have appreciated what we have said, and that is the point. I must call on our brothers, the Fulani, to make sure that they make their activities free of criminality. They must make sure that they fish out the bad eggs among them, because criminality is criminality. And in as much as we try to protect them and show Nigerians that they cannot be profiled badly, they should also make efforts to show that, yes, majority of them are good citizens and they are contributing positively to the growth and development of Nigeria, because our protein needs in the country would not have been met without the sacrifices that they are making. Please don't carry the AK-47 that I made a figurative allusion. Try to make sure that you remain peaceful.
Residents of Maiduguri in Borno State are still reeling from the deadly explosion which rocked the state capital last night. At the moment, the number of injured persons from the attack has risen to 50, with 10 deaths recorded. And this is according to Governor Babagana Zulum, who visited survivors of the explosion. The victims are being treated at the State Specialist Hospital and the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital.
Survivors from the deadly attack by Boko Haram insurgents fight for their life. In an explosion that killed several in Gomari area. These patients were brought in from Gwanje and Kaleri areas of Maiduguri. Their bodies may be bleeding, battered and bruised, but they feel lucky to be alive.
We were sitting just before Maghrib. Then we saw something coming from a distance, and it fell in the middle of the road. It tore the car that was parked there in pieces, and those of us that were there got hit by the impact.
I was just standing when I heard the bomb blast. Actually, I think it was a rocket launcher. I was in front of my house with a lot of people there, and some got killed instantly.
Governor Babagana Zulum has been talking to the survivors and their caregivers. He's also worried with the new style adopted by the insurgents.
It was as a result of a mortar bomb that has been fired by the members of the insurgents. And I believe this is something that we have to look into the possibility of stopping it. We experienced such similar situation exactly 1 year ago in Maiduguri town. The only possible solution is for us to deploy technology and then detect any incoming persons into the town with a view to having the populace. We have seen all of them, and the management of the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital and that of the Borno State government will cater the responsibility of their own health care.
Those killed have been buried in a quiet ceremony attended by the governor, while there's an uneasy calm in the city as residents worry about this new trend and hope the armed forces will act fast to ensure it doesn't happen again.
Of a woman who died in police custody in Abuja has come out negative for cocaine, contrary to the claim by officers of the defunct Special Anti-Robbery Squad that Ifeoma Abugu died of a cocaine overdose. The report was submitted to the Independent Investigation Panel on Human Rights Violations today. The woman was taken away by SARS operatives from her home in September 2020, only to be reported dead at the Gwagwalada Specialist Hospital the next day. Our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, reports.
As the independent panel reconvenes in Abuja at the headquarters of the National Human Rights Commission, 7 cases are called up. Second on the list is the case of alleged extrajudicial killing of Ifeoma Abugu in a petition brought against DSP Melai Isaac, Inspector Enlemali Agbede, and Sergeant Ezekiel Agbede, all from the defunct SARS and the FCT. The respondents include the OC defunct SARS FCT, FCT Commissioner of Police, and the Inspector General of Police, who are all absent at this hearing.
2020.
The autopsy on late Ifeoma, who died on the 11th of September 2020, was carried out on the 25th of September by Dr. Bawa Abimiku, the lead consultant pathologist from the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital. The police had alleged that she died of a cocaine overdose, accusing her and her fiancé of using and dealing in the substance, which is why they raided her house. According to Dr. Bawa, while the dead sperm found inside late Ifeoma cannot be traced to a particular donor, her toxicology report came back negative for any narcotics.
This one was done specifically against cocaine, because that was the substance he assumed she was dealing with, and again it came out negative. So our finding was that, yes, this girl was pale and she was cyanosed, So there must be a form of lack of oxygen supply to the lungs. And because of the duration of detention, it appears like an acute problem. And that's why we put the cause of death as anoxia. Anoxia means lack of oxygen supply to the system. And the likely cause of anoxia is going to be asphyxiation. There must be some obstruction of the oxygen getting to the lungs to cause that. Of course, the causes are numerous. It can come with strangulation, throttling, and a lot of others.
Also before the panel is the case of alleged torture, unlawful detention and imprisonment of Tony Ducci and 7 others by Inspector Cornelius Agbo of the defunct SARS and the FCT.
We hear gun shoot everywhere, gun shoot everywhere. The next thing, he was looking for Southern Kaduna, and we don't know the cause. The torture was there. Okay.
Ducci's case was adjourned to the 24th of March 2021, while the case on the alleged killing of Ifeoma Abugu by SARS operatives was adjourned to the 23rd of March 2021. Kayla Magwa, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, we'll open discussions on the fight against corruption and the appointment of Mr. Abdulrasheed Bawa as chairman of the EFCC. We'll be joined by the country head of Transparency International in Nigeria, Mr. Alwa Rafsanjani. That's in a moment. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Abdulrasheed Bawa refutes corruption allegation as Senate confirms his nomination as new EFCC chairman. Bandits strike again in Kaduna State, killing 18 persons in 3 local government areas. I have no apology, says Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed over comments on farmer-herder crisis, asks herders not to carry AK-47s, and Ghana takes first delivery of coronavirus vaccines from the United Nations COVAX initiative. Let's get some perspective on our lead story on the confirmation of a new EFCC chairman. Joining me live from our Abuja studio is the head of Transparency International in Nigeria and the executive director of Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, Mr. Alwa Rafsanjani. Thanks a lot for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
So what do you think about this appointment? Already some say his youthfulness could be an advantage. Do you agree?
Well, I absolutely agree that there is a potential for Nigerian youths to play a very important role in the development of this country. And him being, one of the senior or one of the key officers that were charged was the investigation and who also investigated high-profile cases of corruption in the commission. I think, it is not out of place if he is given this responsibility, although there are challenges that he has to face in order to get, or create a good impression and be able to handle the situation in the commission very well, and of course the expectation by Nigerians. So there are a number of, expectation that, we have on him that, if he is able to address that, I think, he will be able to succeed.
And the challenges in the commission give lots of people cause for concern, especially towards the end. Give us an idea of the scale of challenges before Mr. Bawa. I mean, looking at the anti-corruption fight and the way it was perceived by Transparency International.
Okay, so some of the challenges that the commission actually has is that sometimes, the commission goes to court without thorough investigation, of some cases, and when they get to the court, the case usually get dismissed. So one of the things that we task Abdulrasheed, Mr. Bawa, is to ensure that before EFCC goes to court, there is a thorough investigation on some of these cases that they are going to prosecute. That's number one. Number two, there has not been good synergy between the other anti-corruption agencies and EFCC, and we hope that with his coming, he will be able to establish that good synergy between the EFCC and other anti-corruption agencies. Also, from the international perspective, there is also need for the commission to actually establish a good, cooperation with the international community and international organization, especially in the area of assets recovery, because a lot of assets are there out, and a lot of civil society have been making effort to support government to ensure that these assets are returned. But one point that we are concerned with, lack of sufficient or greater accountability in the management of the recovered asset. So we tax him to ensure that there's a better, transparency and accountability in the recovered asset. Again, also, there's need for him to ensure that the amendment, the EFCC Act is amended to ensure that the board is in place to ensure oversight and ensure proper regulation in the conduct of the commission. Also, I think it is important that training and retraining of the staff of EFCC is carried out on a regular basis. Again, the welfare of the EFCC staff need to be enhanced. We need to give them the necessary incentives and support. For example, they are putting their life without life insurance, and I think it is necessary that the EFCC is able to take care of its staff to reduce the possible incentives of being compromising their work. Also, one of the major thing that the commission has to do in order to create a good reputation is to ensure that the commission is totally independent without allowing political influence to come and hijack or interfere in the work of the commission. I think it is important that the commission also under his leadership, begin to have public engagement. The freedom of information is out there, and we hope that they will be able to invest in public education, because one of the challenges that we have in the fight against corruption is that there is little or no really in terms of public education, sensitization, and ensuring that Nigerians did not even commit the crime before wasting taxpayers' money to go to court and to pursue those cases. So if you prevent the corruption from happening, that will go a long way. So we believe that if the new chair is able to have this agenda on his table, we believe that he will be able to, have a very good working relationship with other anti-corruption agencies, with international, partners, and of course here in Nigeria, this organization, many anti-corruption organizations will want to support them to succeed, as we have always been doing. So we believe that for the young people in Nigeria to demonstrate that they can actually be better than those ones that have been mismanaging the country. And him as a 40-year-old, it is also a challenge for him to prove that he can lead by example. He can create enabling environment for the young people to be seen as responsible people. So we hope that his energy will be properly utilized, not being diverted for any other things. This is the prayer that we are having, and the agenda we are having, that we are hoping that he should put course and be more effective and be responsible and really respond to the law and ensure that he is not used or being used as a political tool to undermine or to attack people that they consider their political rival. If he is able to do that, I can assure you that Nigerian people, the young people, will be proud of somebody who has been given that kind of responsibility.
All right, thank you so much, Head of Transparency International in Nigeria, Mr. Awa Rafsanjani. Thanks for sharing that on the News at 10 tonight.
Thank you.
The Ondo State Governor, Rotimi Akeredolu, has taken an oath of office as he's sworn in for a second term at an event in Akure, the state capital. Governor Akeredolu is grateful to the people of the state for their support and promises to continue to carry out projects that will address their welfare.
Of the moment.
The International Culture and Event Center, Akure, the Ondo State capital, the venue of the swearing-in of the governor for his second term. Among dignitaries present here are the governors of Ekiti, Osun, Ogun, Lagos, and Edo states.
Take the state anthem.
The national leader of APC, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, former national chairman of APC, Bisi Akonde, former Senate President Ken Namani, Senator Ibikunle Amosun, Senator representing Ondo North Robert Boroface, including his octogenarian mother Grace Akeredolu, are also in the event. Traditional rulers, religious leaders, judicial officers, as well as other eminent Nigerians are not left out. Special rendition by a mass choir adds color to the event. After the initial formalities, the Chief Registrar of the state, Bola Tito Ajibade, performed the oath of allegiance for the Deputy Governor.
I, Lucky Orimisan Ayedatiwa, the Deputy Governor-elect of Ondo State, do solemnly swear.
And same for the Governor.
That as Governor of Ondo State, I will discharge my duties to the best of my ability, faithfully and in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Then the parade of colors and inspection of guard of honor by the Governor, Rotimi Akeredolu, just outside the venue. In his inaugural address, the governor restates the commitment of his administration to set the state on the path of real development, promising to do more.
I stand here today to proclaim before the Almighty God and the good people of Ondo State that we have been steadfast, focused, despite daunting challenges.
The people of Ondo State are hoping for development in all spheres as the journey of Governor Akeredolu's second term begins.
When the news at 10 returns, Minister of Finance Zainab Ahmed says Nigeria is on its way to consistent and stable growth following its exit from recession. That's on Business News. Do join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. Now let's bring you a bit more on our lead story, the confirmation of Abdul Rashid Bawa as the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Mr. Bawa promised to reposition, improve and strengthen the commission's operating procedures.
Thanks. From an ordinary team member to become a team leader, it is on record in EFCC that I happen to be the first regular staff of the EFCC to be appointed a team leader in the midst of all police officers that have dominated the scene of operations. I became a sectional head and also became a zonal head. I've been in the EFCC for 16 years. I've participated in several high-profile cases that has taken me around the world. I'm versed in the investigation of advanced fee fraud, money laundering, public sector corruption, and other financial crimes-related issues.
Let's cross over to Abuja now. Here's Gloria Umezuke. Gloria.
Thank you, Ijoma, and welcome to the nation's capital. The delivery of the COVID-19 vaccine is not in the hands of the government, and that's according to the Health Minister, Dr. Osage Ehanire. He made the comments at a briefing after the Federal Executive Council meeting chaired by President Muhammadu Buhari at the State House. The minister expressed cautious optimism that the vaccine expected from the COVAX facility would get to Nigeria by mid-March. One of the memos presented to the council by the minister is to facilitate the procurement of 40 scanner devices for the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control to detect fake and substandard drugs within the country.
The question is, Nigeria's access to COVID-19 vaccines is from 3 sources. The first is called the COVAX facility. COVAX was set up by the World Health Organization and Gavi. For those of you who know Gavi, Gavi is the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization, and it's a multi-sectoral organization that helps African countries, low and lower middle income countries with acquiring vaccines. So they are the ones who put up money and also collected donations from various sources, World Bank, Bill Gates, and so on, $6 billion to help low and lower middle income countries finance their vaccine requirement for COVID-19. As of last count, they had gathered $6 billion, and there are 92 countries that are eligible for the COVAX facility, and the COVAX facility will cover 20% of our population with vaccines.
The governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, says the Senate has disappointed Nigerians by confirming the immediate past service chiefs as ambassadors. Governor Wike stated this when the Senate Committee on Niger Delta, led by its chairman, Peter Nwabushi, visited him at the Government House, Port Harcourt, today.
2 weeks after the House of Representatives Committee on NDDC visited Government House, Port Harcourt, the Senate committee that oversees the commission is also here in Rivers State. The focus of the meeting is the need to engender development in the Niger Delta region.
We have come to assure you that with the people you have seen here, who are patriotic Nigerians, that we will make sure that the aspiration and the aims of creating the NDDC will be achieved, and we will do everything that is possible within the limits of the Constitution through our oversight function for them to achieve the objectives.
But for Governor Nyesom Wike, the meeting is beyond one agenda. It must first be an opportunity to x-ray the performance of the Senate and the disposition of some senators.
We must be courageous in life, whatever we're doing. Everything must not be party affairs. You people sat that they should dismiss service chiefs. You said they are not performing. Now the same people who did not perform, you clear them as ambassadors. What kind of country are we?
On the need for the NDDC to perform effectively, Governor Wike says all regional and political stakeholders must stop interfering in the administration of the commission.
When people say NDDC is not performing, how are they not performing? When the presidency will not allow them to perform, National Assembly will not allow them to perform, the party in power will not allow them to perform. And we too from Niger Delta are enemies to ourselves. Go all over, go and see all the. We are doing 8 flyovers as a state. Tell me the one the NDC have done. One.
At the end of their discussion, Governor Wike led members of the Senate Committee on Niger Delta on a tour of some projects within the Government House, Port Harcourt, as he plans to begin another round of projects commissioning in Rivers State on March the 1st.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. We now join Tenyola Shobowale for business news.
Thanks a lot, Gloria. Welcome to Business News. The Finance Minister, Zainab Ahmed, has shared optimism that the nation's economy, though fragile, is now on the path to recovery. She made this known to State House correspondents at the end of the virtual meeting of the Federal Executive Council, presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja, while acknowledging that the nation saw a high inflation of 16.7% last month. The minister explained that the positive negative 0.11% GDP growth recorded in the fourth quarter is as a result of the fiscal policies and economic sustainability plan.
In real terms, the growth between the third quarter and the fourth quarter is a positive growth of 3.73%. A movement within one quarter we have never witnessed in this country. So we're growing from one quarter to another by 3.73%. That also the movement from the second quarter to the third quarter also witnessed a growth of 2.48% is an indication that the policies that are being implemented are the right ones, and the trajectory is a positive one, and that Nigeria is well on its way of restoring a consistent and stable growth, a growth that we hope to grow to be a strong growth from the fragile growth that we now have at 0.11%.
Well, let's check in on the stock market now. Nigeria's equities market has maintained the slight rebound, which started on Tuesday after 3 weeks of sell-off as investors extend bargain hunting on some high-value stocks. Well, let's get the details from Ekaite Afia.
Thanks for joining us for the Stock Market Report. The stock market is slowly crawling back to the green territory after investors extended bargain hunting for some key equities on the NSE for a second day. Well, I'm sure we're all glad to hear that bellow, which signifies the market gained an additional 25 billion naira today, while the all-share index climbed higher by a margin against the 0.03% rise recorded in the previous session. Now, you may be wondering what is driving the gradual rebound which started on Tuesday. Bank stocks. A trader I spoke with earlier today said investors are impressed by the stellar performance recorded by Zenith Bank in its 2020 full-year results, which was released yesterday. Now, let's take a look at the sectoral performance chart. You can see that the banking sector remains the market's main driving force, as it recorded the highest gain among its peers, and this is due to expectations of good dividend payouts by the lenders, which is due in the coming days. Now, at the same time, the number of shares traded today increased by more than 38% against Tuesday's turnover, and this was largely driven by the shares of Zenith Bank, which contribute 1/3 of the volume of transactions. Now, the market has managed to sustain an uptrend for 2 sessions, and we can only look forward to more positive outcomes in the remaining days of February. Well, that's all for the Stock Market Report. I'm Ekaite Afia.
Thanks a lot, Ekaite. Meanwhile, stock markets across the United States and Europe ended midweek session in the green territory. Let's take a look at the closing numbers. And that's business news tonight. It's back to you, Ijoma.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Teniola. Still ahead on the news at 10, Ghana takes first delivery of coronavirus vaccines from the United Nations COVAX initiative. And more from our London studio in Around the World in 5. Please stay with us. Welcome back. The first coronavirus vaccines through the COVAX vaccine sharing initiative today arrived in Ghana. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. US President Joe Biden and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau have agreed to work towards achieving net zero greenhouse emissions by 2050.
And we will launch an expanded U.S.-Canadian Arctic dialogue.
In a virtual conference, the two leaders have sought to turn the page on the Trump era, stressing the country's deep ties and also pledging to work together on COVID-19 and climate change in their first bilateral meeting.
The President and I discussed the ambitious new partnership roadmap.
Mr. Trudeau has welcomed the Biden administration, citing its renewed attention to climate change, in contrast to the former U.S. President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, the U.S. has announced that it will seek to return to the United Nations Human Rights Council.
We humbly ask for the support
of all UN member states.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said the country will seek election for the 2022 to 2024 term. The US had withdrawn from the Council in 2018 under former President Trump. The elections for the 3-year membership are expected to take place during the UN General Assembly in October. The US will have observer status until then. A former Syrian intelligence service agent has been sentenced to 4.5 years in jail for complicity in crimes against humanity. Ayad al-Gharib has been convicted by the Higher Region Court in the German city of Koblenz. The ruling is the first in the world related to the brutal repression of protesters by the Syrian government. The court has said that Mr. al-Gharib had arrested at least 30 anti-government protesters at the start of the Syrian civil war in 2011 and sent them to an intelligence facility where he knew detainees were tortured.
It's historic days, day for justice in Horja world.
Syrian human rights lawyer Anwar al-Bani has said the unprecedented verdict would speed up efforts to bring charges against former members of the Syrian government that are suspected of war crimes. Bolivians have clashed with riot police on the streets of the capital La Paz to demand the repeal of the country's controversial health emergency law. The decree has angered health workers and doctors' unions because it bans them from striking during the coronavirus pandemic emergency period and permits the hiring of foreign medical personnel. Protests by doctors and nurses are being carried out across the country as they demand the emergency law be repealed, claiming it is unconstitutional and restricts the right to protest. Ghana has become the first country to receive vaccines through the UN-backed COVAX scheme. A flight carrying 600,000 doses of the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine produced by the Serum Institute of India has landed in Ghana's capital, Accra. The delivery has arrived through the COVAX initiative, aiming to deliver a total of 2.3 billion doses by the year end, including 1.8 billion to poorer countries at no cost to their government. Ruling party candidate Mohamed Bazoum has been declared the winner of Niger's presidential election. Bazoum, a 61-year-old former interior minister, won 55.75% of the vote in what is considered the country's first ever democratic transition of power. However, the opposition has alleged widespread fraud, including the theft and stuffing of ballot boxes and threats against voters. Protesters burned tyres outside Usame's campaign headquarters and in other parts of the capital. Hundreds of indigenous protesters have rallied outside the offices of Ecuador's Electoral Council in the capital Quito to demand a recount of this month's presidential vote. Yaku Perez, an indigenous environmental activist, has been walking through the nation to denounce what he calls manipulation of poll statements that left him in third place after left-wing economist Andres Arauz and conservative banker Guillermo Lasso. The final tally shows Perez less than a percentage point behind Lasso, which would not allow him to advance to the runoff vote. The indigenous candidate is seeking a recount in 17 of Ecuador's 24 provinces. And finally, a Czech free diver has braved the freezing waters to break the ice swim world record. David Venkel has swum nearly 81 meters in water measured at temperatures of 3 degrees Celsius while wearing only a swimsuit. Mr. Venkel dropped into the water through a hole cut in the 1 foot thick ice and emerged after a 1.5-minute swim and can be seen pumping his fist in celebration. And that's your international news around the world in 5. And now back to the channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Hello and welcome to Sports News. The world's leading football entertainment brand Pepsi has introduced a new, bold global campaign celebrating culture with pop and fizz of the irresistible cola. The campaign stars the world's best across football and music, including Messi, Paul Pogba, Shanice Van de Sandum, and Jadon Sancho. Global superstar Becky G and Pepsi Nigeria ambassador and two-time Grammy nominee Burna Boy complete the cast. This year's global football campaign in support of the UEFA Champions League partnership is led by a high-energy film, Fist to Life, that showcases epic football skills set to a custom music track, Rotate, created for the campaign by Becky G and Burna Boy. The national marketing manager, 7up Bottling Company, Segun Ogunleye, says the bold new Pepsi Fizz global campaign is in line with the company's consumer-centric policy to give the Nigerian consumer great experience of enjoying its refreshing Pepsi while watching the UEFA Champions League matches. Speaking of the UEFA Champions League, former champions Real Madrid beat 10-man Atalanta by a lone goal in the first leg of their quarterfinal match at the stadium in Italy. Atalanta's Freuler was sent off in the 17th minute of the first half. Ferland Mendy got the only goal for the Spanish Giants in the 86th minute. 8-time Nigeria League champions Enyimba International were forced to a 1-1 draw by visiting Akwa United on match day 12 of the MPFL played earlier this evening. Enyimba, who are back on the domestic scene after edging out Rivers United to advance to the group stage of the Confederation Cup of CAF, got the opener in the 54th minute. Akwa United found the equalizer 4 minutes off added time in the second half. That's it on Sports News. Back to you.
Thanks, Olumide. And the main news again. The Senate today confirmed the appointment of Mr. Abdul Rashid Bawa as the new chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Mr. Bawa refuted corruption allegations, saying he never sold any property recovered by the Anti-Corruption Agency. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Onyato. You have a good night.